back here at the Hall of History, and today we're going to look at the War of 1812. Quite often overlooked in American history. I know you guys covered it some last year, but we'll take a brief look at it here. Here's a great scene from a movie showing the Washington burning at the time by the British. What were the causes of the war? Many Americans blamed the British for the Native American attacks on the Western settlements. The Native Americans at this time allied themselves with the British, and the British were always, they were still stinging from the Revolutionary War, and they were looking at any chance to get back at the American government. Britain started seizing American ships that were bringing goods to the French, and again, the French and the British were always fighting, so Britain really thought of the Americans as allies of the French, which they were, because the French did help us in the Revolutionary War. What really started getting the United States government all upset was this whole idea of impressment. Well, when the British would seize these American ships, they would impress or take the sailors of the American ships and force them into the British Navy. And this policy of impressment really proved the biggest issue. Well, as you have now, you have the Hawks and the Doves, and right at this point in American history, the Hawks had power in Congress and resented the fact that Britain had continual influence on American affairs. They wanted nothing to do with the British Empire. Here's a political cartoon of the day showing the British and the Native American allies. The British portrayed themselves as good friends of the Native Americans. Some highlights of the War of 1812. You can read these. Dolly Madison saved a portrait as she fled the White House. The Battle of Fort McHenry, Francis Scott Key. This is where the Star Spangled Banner was written. Fort Mackinac, the first land battle in the United States of America. Get up there to Mackinac Island, or Fort Michilimackinac. And Andrew Jackson wins the Battle of New Orleans after the Treaty of Ghent was signed and the war was officially over. This really catapulted Andrew Jackson into the limelight and eventually his presidency. But it's interesting to note this was done, or this battle was fought, after the war was officially over. But you're looking at a time frame here where there was no telegraph, no phones, no computer communications, no satellite communications. So it took a long time for things to travel across the ocean and then get to the outlying outposts in the very young United States. Some of the effects of the war, well, Britain kind of had to evacuate their western post. Not losing the war allowed Americans to feel they had ended their colonial dependency. At this time, you still had the British on the western frontier. This was one of the most divisive wars in our history. Most historians view it as unnecessary and dangerous risk. But you got to remember the climate of the time. You had the Hawks in power, and they were just sick of the British creating all sorts of havoc on the western frontier. The biggest loser in this case were probably the northwestern Native Americans and their southern allies. Once Britain abandoned its alliance with the Native Americans at the Treaty of Ghent, American settlers now were free to move west, cross the Appalachians, and started getting into Middle America and even farther out. And definitely, this caused problems. Americans were looking for more territory. So this is the end of our brief look at the War of 1812.